Lisa Martinez stared at the screen in front of her. The numbers kept jumping around, making no sense at all. She rubbed her tired eyes and looked again. The same strange pattern kept repeating itself over and over. "Computer, run the signal through." "The translation program again," she said to the empty room. The computer beeped softly. Lisa had been working at the monitoring station for 3 years now. She had heard every kind of space noise there was. Solar flares, asteroid impacts, even the weird sounds that gas giants made when their storms got really big. But this was different. The monitoring station floated in space near Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. It was called Celestial Watch, and it was Lisa's job to listen to everything that came from deep space. Most days were boring. She would sit at her desk, drink coffee, and listen to the same old cosmic background noise that had been going on for billions of years. But today was not most days. The signal was weak, like someone whispering from very far away. It kept cutting in and out, but there was definitely a pattern to it. Lisa had been a communications officer for 8 years, and she knew the difference between random noise and something made by intelligent beings. Her hands moved quickly over the controls. She boosted the signal strength and filtered out as much background noise as she could. The pattern became clearer. It was definitely artificial. Someone or something was trying to send a message. Lisa reached for the red button on her desk. She had never pressed it before. It would call Commander Jake Sullivan and tell him that something important was happening. Her finger stopped just above the button. What if she was wrong? What if it was just some weird new kind of space noise she had never heard before? She listened to the signal for another 5 minutes. The pattern was too regular, too organized, to be natural. Someone was definitely trying to communicate. Lisa pressed the button. Commander Jake Sullivan arrived at the communications bay 15 minutes later. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been in charge of Celestial Watch for 10 years, and nothing much surprised him anymore. "What do you have for me, Martinez?" he asked as he walked over to her station. "Sir, I've been tracking this signal for about 2 hours now. It's coming from outside our solar system, and it's definitely artificial." Lisa played the signal through the speakers. Jake listened carefully. Even without any training in communications, he could hear that something was different about this noise. It had a rhythm to it, like music or speech. "Where's it coming from?" he asked. Lisa pointed to her star chart on the screen. "The Kepler 442 system, sir. That's about 1,200 light years away from us." Jake's eyebrows went up. That was incredibly far away. For a signal to travel that distance and still be strong enough for them to detect, whoever sent it must have used enormous of power. "Have you tried running it through the translation program?" "Yes, sir, but it's taking time. The program has never seen this language before, so it's trying to figure out the basic structure first." They waited in silence as the computer worked. Lisa had seen the translation program work before, but never on something completely alien. It looked for patterns, repeated words, and mathematical concepts that might be universal. After 20 minutes, the computer beeped. Words began appearing on the screen, but they were broken and incomplete. "Help ... We are ... dying. Our world ... burns. Any who hear ... please, we cannot ... alone." Jake and Lisa looked at each other. Even with the broken translation, message was clear. Someone was asking for help. "Keep working on cleaning up the translation," Jake told Lisa. "I need to contact Earth immediately." Jake walked quickly to his office and opened a secure communication channel to Earth. It took 30 minutes for his message to reach Admiral Tony Rodriguez at Earth Defense Command, and another 30 minutes to get a reply back. "Keep monitoring the signal," the Admiral's message said. "I'm sending Dr. Amy Foster and her xenobiology team to your station. Don't talk to anyone else about this until they arrive." Dr. Amy Foster arrived 2 days later with a team of 6 specialists. She was a small woman with bright eyes who had spent her whole life studying the possibility of alien life. She had never expected to actually encounter it. "Play the signal again," she told Lisa as soon as she arrived at the communication station. By now the translation program had cleaned up most of the message. The words came through much clearer than before. "Help us. We are dying. Our world burns. The Kron ships fill our skies and rain fire on our cities. Any who hear this message, please, we beg you. We are the Velthari of the third planet of the star you call Kepler 442. We are farmers and artists. We have no weapons that can fight them. We cannot resist them alone. If there are others like us in the galaxy who believe in peace, please help us. We are running out of time." The message repeated over and over. Dr. Foster listened to it 20 times before she spoke. "They're telling the truth," she said finally. "I can hear the fear in their voices. These aren't conquerors trying to trick us. These are people who are really in trouble." Jake called another meeting with Admiral Rodriguez. This time, the Admiral appeared on the screen in person instead of just sending a message. "What's your assessment, Dr. Foster?" the Admiral asked. "Sir, based on everything we've learned from their transmissions, the Velthari appear to be a peaceful species that has never developed military technology. They're being attacked by something called the Kron, which sounds like a militaristic empire. The Velthari are asking anyone who receives their message to help them." Admiral Rodriguez was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "Dr. Foster, you're telling me that somewhere, 1,200 light-years away, there's an alien species that's about to be wiped out, and they're asking us to help them." "Yes, sir, that's exactly what I'm telling you. And we've never met these aliens before. We don't know anything about them except what they've told us in this distress call." "That's correct, sir." Admiral Rodriguez rubbed his forehead. "I need to think about this. Continue monitoring their transmissions. I'll contact you again in 24 hours. After the Admiral signed off, Jake, Lisa, and Dr. Foster sat in silence. They all knew what they had just heard would change everything. For the first time in human history, they had received a message from an alien species, and that species was asking for help. Admiral Tony Rodriguez stood in front of the largest meeting room on Earth. 50 of the most important people in the world sat around the long table, all waiting to hear what he had to say. Presidents, generals, scientists, and space commanders had all dropped everything to come to this emergency meeting. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Rodriguez began, 3 days ago, we received our first message from an alien species. They are asking for our help." The room exploded with voices. Everyone started talking at once. Some people looked excited. Others looked scared. And a few looked like they didn't believe what they had just heard. Admiral Rodriguez raised his hand for silence. "Dr. Amy Foster will explain what we know about the situation." Dr. Foster stood up and activated the large screen behind her. The alien message played for everyone to hear. Even with the translation, the fear and desperation in the alien voices was clear. "The species calls themselves the Velthari," Dr. Foster explained. "They live on a planet in the Kepler 442 system, which is 1,200 light-years from Earth. Based on their transmissions, they appear to be a peaceful civilization focused on farming, art, and science. They have never developed weapons of war." President Clark of the United States leaned forward. "And who is attacking them?" "An empire called the Kron. The Velthari describe them as conquerors who travel from system to system, destroying civilizations and taking their planets. The Kron have been attacking Velthari worlds for several months now." General Martinez, from the European Space Defense Force, shook her head. "Admiral, with respect, this is not our problem. We don't even know if these aliens are telling the truth. This could be some kind of trap." Captain Ben Parker, who had been sitting quietly at the end of the table, stood up. He was young for a captain, only 35 years old, but he had already commanded more deep space missions than anyone else in the fleet. "General Martinez, I've listened to those transmissions for hours," Captain Parker said. "That's not the sound of people trying to trick us. That's the sound of people who are about to die." "Captain Parker is right," Dr. Foster added. "We've analyzed every part of their communications. There are no signs of deception. These people are genuinely desperate." Admiral Rodriguez activated another screen showing a map of known space. "Here's our situation. We have 3 ships capable of traveling to the Kepler 442 system. The ESV Defiance, the ESV Resolute, and the ESV Intrepid. Each ship can carry about 5,000 people. You're seriously considering sending our ships to help aliens we've never met?" asked Director Williams from the Global Intelligence Agency. "That's exactly what I'm considering," Admiral Rodriguez replied. "The question is whether the rest of you agree with me." The debate went on for 6 hours. Some people argued that Earth should stay out of alien conflicts. Others worried that helping the Valkyrie might make the Kron angry with humans. A few suggested that this was exactly the kind of situation where Earth needed to prove they were different from other species in the galaxy. Finally, Captain Ben Parker asked for permission to speak again. "I understand everyone's concerns," he said. "But let me ask you this. If Earth was being attacked by an alien empire and we sent out a distress call hoping someone would help us, what would we want them to do?" The room became very quiet. "We would want them to help us," President Clark said softly. "Even if it was dangerous for them," added General Martinez. Captain Parker nodded. "The Valkyrie didn't ask us to solve all their problems. They just asked for help. If we can't help people who are asking us to save their lives, then what kind of species are we?" Admiral Rodriguez called for a vote. It was close, but the decision was made. Earth would send help to the Valkyrie. 2 weeks later, Captain Ben Parker stood on the bridge of the ESV Defiance as it prepared to leave Earth's orbit. Captain Kelly Brooks commanded the ESV Resolute, and Captain Steve Adams was in charge of the ESV Intrepid. Together, the 3 ships carried 15,000 of Earth's best military personnel, doctors, engineers, and support staff. Lieutenant Colonel Rick Hayes walked onto the bridge of the Defiance. He was in charge of all the ground forces for the mission. "Captain, my Marines are ready. We've been training non-stop since we got the orders." "Good," Captain Parker replied. "Because we have no idea what we're going to find when we get there." Commander Jake Sullivan, who had transferred from the monitoring station to serve as the mission's communications officer, looked up from his station. "Sir, I'm receiving another transmission from the Valkyrie." "Put it on the main screen." The face of an alien appeared on the screen. The Valkyrie looked somewhat like humans, but taller and thinner, with skin that seemed to change colors slightly as they spoke. "People of Earth," the alien said, "I am Counselor Thevron of the Valkyrie Council. We have received your message saying that you are coming to help us. We cannot express how grateful we are. In 300 years of Kron expansion across the galaxy, no species has ever come to help another. You are the first." The alien's image flickered, and sounds of explosions could be heard in the background. "I must be honest with you," Counselor Thevron continued. "The situation here has gotten much worse. The Kron have destroyed 6 of our cities in the past week. Millions of our people are refugees now, hiding in the forests and mountains. We do not know how much longer we can survive." The transmission ended abruptly. Captain Parker looked around at his crew. "You heard him. We're the first species to ever respond to a call for help. That means we're going to set the example for how this kind of thing should be done." The journey to the Kepler 442 system would take 3 months using Earth's fastest hyperspace drives. During that time, the crews of all 3 ships worked constantly to prepare for what they might face. Dr. Amy Foster, who had come along as the mission's chief scientist, worked with Professor Carl Johnson to learn more of the Velthari language. Every day, they received new transmissions from the aliens, each one more desperate than the last. Lieutenant Colonel Rick Hayes trained his Marines for combat against an unknown enemy. They practiced fighting in different environments and against opponents they had never seen before. Communications specialist Nina Clark kept in constant contact with the Velthari, learning everything she could about their world and their situation. The news was never good. Every day, more Velthari cities fell to the Kron invaders. 2 months into their journey, long-range sensors detected something ahead of them. Captain Parker called all 3 ship captains to a video conference. "We have company," Captain Kelly Brooks reported from the ESV Resolute. 3 unknown ships, moving to intercept us. Captain Steve Adams from the ESV Intrepid checked his tactical displays. They're not broadcasting any identification signals. These might be Kron patrol ships. Captain Parker made a decision that would change the course of the mission. All ships prepare for combat. If these are Kron ships, they probably don't know about Earth yet. We need to make sure they don't get a chance to report back to their fleet. The first battle between humans and Kron lasted only 10 minutes. The alien ships were powerful, but they attacked in straight lines, following patterns that made them easy targets for human tactics. All 3 Kron ships were destroyed, but Commander Jake Sullivan had bad news. "Captain, one of those ships got off a transmission before we destroyed it. The Kron now know about us." Captain Parker looked at the tactical display showing the wreckage of the alien ships. "Then we better get to the Velthari system fast. The Kron are going to be very interested in meeting the species that just destroyed 3 of their patrol ships." As the 3 Earth ships jumped back into hyperspace, racing toward a world they had never seen to help people they had never met, Captain Parker realized that humanity had just declared war on an interstellar empire. There was no going back now. Captain Ben Parker stared at the main screen in horror. The planet below them was burning. Huge fires covered entire continents, and smoke clouds blocked out most of the sunlight. In orbit around the planet, massive alien ships moved slowly, shooting beams of energy down at the surface. "My God," whispered Commander Jake Sullivan. "How many people lived on this world?" Dr. Amy Foster checked her instruments. "According to the Velthari transmissions, about 2 billion. But based on what I'm seeing now..." She couldn't finish the sentence. The 3 Earth ships had arrived at the edge of the Kepler 442 system and were watching the destruction of Velthari, prime from a safe distance. Captain Parker counted 12 enormous Kron warships in orbit around the planet. Each one was twice the size of any Earth ship. "Captain," called communications specialist Nina Clark, "I'm receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. Put it through." The voice that came over the speakers was weak and filled with static. "Any Earth ships? This is Counselor Thevron. We are hiding in the mountains north of the old capital city. The Kron have captured most of our people. They are putting them in camps. We don't know why." The transmission cut off. Captain Parker opened a channel to the other Earth ships. "Captain Brooks, Captain Adams, what's your assessment?" Captain Kelly Brooks from the ESV Resolute spoke first. "Ben, those Kron ships are huge. We're outnumbered 4-1, and they probably have better weapons than us." Captain Steve Adams from the ESV Intrepid agreed. "This looks like a suicide mission. Maybe we should call for reinforcements from Earth." Captain Parker thought about the weak voice of Counselor Thevron begging for help. How long would it take for reinforcements to get here? 6 months minimum, Commander Sullivan answered. "The Velthari don't have 6 months. They might not have 6 days." Captain Parker made his decision. "We came here to help these people, and that's what we're going to do. All ships, prepare for battle." Lieutenant Colonel Rick Hayes had been listening to the conversation from the Marine deck. "Captain, my people are ready to go down to the planet's surface. But we need to deal with those ships in orbit first. I know, Nina, try to contact the Kron fleet. Let's see if we can talk to them. Communications specialist Nina Clark worked at her station for several minutes. Sir, I'm getting a response from the largest Kron ship. The alien face that appeared on the screen was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The Kron looked like giant lizards that had learned to walk upright. Their skin was dark green and covered with scales, and their eyes were cold and yellow. The creature speaking to them wore some kind of military uniform. Unknown ships, the Kron commander said. In perfect English, you will identify yourselves immediately. This system is now property of the Kron Empire. Captain Parker stepped forward. I am Captain Ben Parker of the United Earth Navy. We received a distress call from the people of this planet. We're here to help them. The Kron commander's mouth opened slightly, showing rows of sharp teeth. Earth? We have never heard of your species. It does not matter. You will leave this system immediately, or you will be destroyed. We're not leaving without the Velthari people. The alien commander looked surprised. You came here to help another species? How unusual, no matter. You have 30 seconds to begin leaving this system, or we will consider you an enemy of the Empire. Captain Parker cut the transmission. All ships, battle stations. Remember, our job is to get those Kron ships away from the planet so we can rescue the Velthari. The battle began when the HFY Resolute fired the first shot. Captain Kelly Brooks had targeted the smallest Kron ship, hoping to even the odds quickly. The Earth missile hit the alien ship's side, causing a massive explosion. The Kron response was immediate. All 12 ships turned toward the Earth fleet and began firing energy weapons that lit up space like lightning bolts. Evasive maneuvers. Captain Parker shouted. The HFY Defiance rolled to the left just as a Kron energy beam passed through the space where it had been. Captain Steve Adams from the HFY Intrepid had a different idea. Ben, these ships are huge, but they turn very slowly. If we can get close to them, they won't be able to target us properly. Do it. The 3 Earth ships split up and began flying in unpredictable patterns around the Kron fleet. The aliens had clearly never fought an enemy that moved so quickly and randomly. Their energy beams kept missing as the human ships darted between them. Pilot Commander Lisa Martinez, who had transferred from the monitoring station to lead the fighter squadrons, launched from the HFY Defiance with 40 small fighter ships. All fighters, target their weapon systems. Don't try to destroy the big ships, just stop them from shooting. The fighters were too small and fast for the Kron to hit with their main weapons. They swarmed around the alien ships like angry bees, firing missiles at gun turrets and sensor arrays. The battle in space raged for 2 hours. The Earth ships were smaller and faster, but the Kron had better armor and more powerful weapons. Captain Parker watched as one of his fighters was destroyed by a lucky Kron shot. Captain, called Commander Sullivan, the HFY Intrepid is taking heavy damage. Captain Adams is requesting permission to try something desperate. What does he have in mind? Captain Steve Adams appeared on the communication screen. His bridge was filled with smoke and sparks were flying from damaged equipment. Ben, my ship is dying. But I can still steer her. I'm going to ram their command ship. Steve, no, there has to be another way. This is the only way to break up their formation. Get my crew off this ship, and then let me finish this. Captain Parker knew his friend was right. The HFY Intrepid was too damaged to keep fighting, but it could still be used as a weapon. All ships, prepare to evacuate the crew of the HFY Intrepid. For the next 30 minutes, Earth ships and fighters worked desperately to rescue everyone from the dying ship. Captain Adams was the last person to leave, transferring to a fighter just minutes before his ship began its final run. The HFY Intrepid, now flying on automatic pilot, accelerated directly toward the largest Kron ship. The aliens saw it coming and fired everything they had at it, but the Earthship was already too damaged to be stopped by more damage. The collision was spectacular. The ESV Intrepid hit the Kron command ship at full speed, and both ships exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet's surface. The explosion was so large that it damaged 2 other Kron ships nearby. All remaining Kron ships, Captain Brooks broadcast, your command ship is destroyed. Surrender now and we will allow you to leave this system. The response came from a different Kron commander. Humans, you have made a terrible mistake. The Empire will remember this attack. We will return with 1,000 ships and destroy your entire species. The remaining Kron ships began to retreat, but Captain Parker wasn't finished. All ships, pursue and capture as many of those ships as possible. We need to learn everything we can about their technology. The battle ended with 3 Kron ships captured and the rest fleeing the system. But Captain Parker knew this was just the beginning of a much larger war. Down on the planet's surface, Lieutenant Colonel Rick Hayes and his Marines had landed near the mountains where the Velthari survivors were hiding. The first human to meet an alien face-to-face was Sergeant Mike Torres. "Don't be afraid," Sergeant Torres said to the tall, graceful beings who came out of the caves. "We're here to help you." Counselor Thevron stepped forward. He was nearly 7 feet tall with skin that shimmered with different colors as he spoke. "You actually came. In all our history, no species has ever helped another. We thought we were alone in our fight against the Empire." Dr. Amy Foster was amazed by the Velthari. They were beautiful, intelligent beings who had created art and music instead of weapons. Their cities, even while burning, showed incredible architectural skill. "How many of your people are left?" she asked Counselor Thevron. "Perhaps 50 million on this world. The Kron have taken another 100 million to work camps on other planets. We do not know what happens to our people there." Captain Parker joined the ground team to meet the aliens they had risked everything to save. When he saw the destroyed cities and the frightened refugees, he knew they had made the right choice. "Counselor Thevron," he said, "the Kron said they would return with 1,000 ships. We need to prepare for a much bigger battle." The alien leader's skin changed to darker colors, which Dr. Foster realized meant he was worried. "Captain Parker, your species has already done more for us than we ever dared hope. We cannot ask you to fight an entire empire for our sake." Captain Parker looked around at the burning world and the millions of refugees who had lost everything. "You're not asking us to fight, Counselor. We're choosing to fight. And we're not going to stop until every one of your people is free." 3 months after the first battle, Admiral Tony Rodriguez arrived at Velthari Prime with 20 more Earthships and 100,000 personnel. The sight that greeted him was nothing like what he had expected. The planet was still scarred from the Kron attack, but something remarkable was happening. Human engineers worked alongside Velthari builders to repair the damaged cities. Earth doctors treated wounded aliens while Velthari healers shared their medical knowledge with human scientists. In the refugee camps, human Marines taught Velthari civilians how to defend themselves. "Captain Parker," Admiral Rodriguez said as they walked through the main human base, "your reports didn't fully explain what I'm seeing here." Captain Ben Parker smiled as they watched a group of human children and Velthari young ones playing together in a nearby field. "Sir, we came here to help them, but we're learning just as much from them as we're teaching." Dr. Amy Foster joined them, carrying a tablet full of research notes. "Admiral, the Velthari medical technology is incredible. They can heal injuries that would kill a human. And their agricultural techniques could solve Earth's food problems forever." "That's not why we're here, Doctor." "I know, sir. But these people have so much to offer. They've been studying science and art for thousands of years while never building a single weapon of war." General Pat Williams, who had come with the reinforcements, looked skeptical. That's exactly why they almost got wiped out. Sometimes you need weapons to protect what you care about. Counselor Thevrin approached their group. Over the past 3 months, he had learned to speak English quite well. General Williams, you are correct. We see that now. But we also see that weapons alone are not enough. The Kron Empire has the best weapons in the galaxy, but they do not have what you humans have. And what's that? General Williams asked. The willingness to risk everything for strangers. Colonel Dan Miller, who was in charge of organizing the refugee camps, brought them some disturbing news. Admiral, we've been questioning the Kron prisoners we captured. What we've learned is not good. They gathered in the command center, where Intelligence Officer Kate Morgan had prepared a briefing. The Kron Empire controls 47 star systems, she began. They have conquered 17 different species over the past 500 years. Their military has millions of ships and billions of soldiers. Admiral Rodriguez studied the star map showing Kron territory. How do they maintain control over such a large area? Fear, sir. They make examples of any species that resists. The Kron don't just conquer planets. They completely destroy any civilization that fights back. Other species see what happens to rebels, and they surrender without fighting. Captain Kelly Brooks, who had been studying captured Kron technology, added her own concerns. Admiral, their ships are more advanced than ours, but they're also more rigid. Every Kron ship follows the exact same battle plans. They've won so many easy victories that they've never had to adapt their tactics. That's good news for us. SAID Captain Parker. Maybe for small battles, but not for what's coming, Captain Brooks replied. Our spies have confirmed that the Kron are assembling a massive fleet. At least 2,000 ships, maybe more. Engineer Sam Peterson had been working day and night with Velthari scientists to develop new defensive systems. We're making progress, Admiral. The Velthari energy manipulation technology combined with our adaptive engineering has produced some interesting results. He showed them a prototype of a new type of shield system. This can absorb Kron energy weapons and redirect the power to our own systems. We're also working on new ship designs that are faster and more maneuverable than anything either species has built before. Admiral Rodriguez was impressed but also worried. How long do we have before the Kron return? Based on the prisoner's information, probably 6 months, Intelligence Officer Kate Morgan answered. And how long to build enough of these new ships to make a difference? Engineer Peterson looked uncomfortable. At least a year, sir. The room fell silent. They all understood what this meant. The Kron would return with overwhelming force long before Earth and the Velthari could prepare an adequate defense. Captain Parker broke the silence. Then we need to change our strategy. Instead of waiting for them to attack us, we need to attack them first. Ben, that's suicide, Captain Brooks said. We can't fight their entire empire. We don't need to fight their entire empire. We just need to make other conquered species believe that the Kron can be defeated. Counselor Thevrin's skin changed to bright colors, which Dr. Foster had learned meant he was excited. Captain Parker is right. The Empire's greatest weapon is fear. If other species see that the Kron can lose, some of them might join us. Intelligence Officer Kate Morgan pulled up files on other Kron-conquered species. We know of at least 6 species that were forced to surrender in the past century. The Zalathi, the Mokari, the Tren. All of them had advanced civilizations before the Kron arrived. Any of them still have the ability to fight? Admiral Rodriguez asked. Possibly the Zalathi. They were conquered only 20 years ago, and they had a strong industrial base. The Kron probably kept their factories running to produce materials for the Empire. Over the next month, they developed a plan that was either brilliant or completely insane. Instead of waiting for the Kron to attack Velthari Prime, a combined human Velthari fleet would strike at Kron, military bases while simultaneously trying to contact conquered species and convince them to rebel. Captain Parker would lead the main attack force with the new hybrid ships that combined human and Velthari technology. Captain Brooks would command a separate group tasked with making contact with potential allies. Admiral Rodriguez would remain at Velthari Prime with most of the fleet to defend against the inevitable Kron counterattack. The plan required perfect timing and a lot of luck. Lieutenant Colonel Rick Hayes had been training a joint force of human, Marines and Velthari volunteers. Admiral, these aliens learn fast. They've never fought before, but they understand tactics better than most of my human soldiers. Are they ready for combat? As ready as anyone can be for their first battle, sir. 2 weeks before the planned attack, long-range sensors detected the approaching Kron fleet. It was even larger than expected, 3,000 ships, led by a massive command vessel that was bigger than anything humans had ever seen. War Commander Kethax, the Kron leader, sent a message to Velthari Prime. Humans of Earth, you made a mistake when you interfered in our conquest. Now you will learn why no species has ever successfully resisted the Kron Empire. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Captain Parker's response was simple. We came here to help our friends. If you want to stop us, you'll have to try. The final battle for Velthari Prime began 3 days later. The Kron fleet approached the planet in perfect formation, expecting to find a small, frightened human force waiting to be destroyed. Instead, they found a combined fleet of humans and Velthari using tactics they had never seen before. The new hybrid ships moved like fighters but hit like battleships. Human unpredictability combined with Velthari precision created a fighting force that confused and frustrated the methodical Kron commanders. Captain Brooks led her ships in hit-and-run attacks on the flanks of the Kron formation, while Captain Parker's main force struck directly at their center. The Velthari, fighting for their homeworld, showed a courage that surprised everyone, including themselves. But the Kron had numbers and firepower. For every alien ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. The battle raged for 6 hours, with neither side gaining a clear advantage. Then Intelligence Officer Kate Morgan reported something that changed everything. Admiral, I'm detecting explosions throughout the Kron fleet. Ships that we haven't even shot at are losing power and going dark. Dr. Amy Foster, who had been monitoring Kron communications, figured out what was happening. Sir, some of the Kron ships are being sabotaged from the inside. I think we have allies we didn't know about. The truth was even better than they had hoped. Conquered species serving as slave labor on Kron ships had heard about the battle and chosen this moment to rebel. Across the enemy fleet, alien slaves were destroying power systems and weapon controls, turning the Kron's own ships against them. War Commander Kethax tried to maintain control, but his rigid command structure couldn't adapt to simultaneous rebellions on dozens of ships. The perfect Kron formation collapsed into chaos as ship after ship either shut down or began firing on their own allies. Captain Parker seized the moment. All ships, full attack. Target their command vessel. The battle ended when the massive Kron command ship, crippled by internal sabotage and overwhelmed by the combined human Velthari fleet, finally surrendered. War Commander Kethax himself was taken prisoner, but the real victory was the message that spread across the galaxy. For the first time in 500 years, the Kron Empire had been defeated. And it hadn't been defeated by superior weapons or numbers, but by something the Empire had never understood. Different species working together to help each other. As Captain Parker looked at the captured Kron ships and the celebrating human and Velthari crews, he realized they had started something much bigger than a rescue mission. They had started a revolution. 6 months after the Great Battle, Captain Ben Parker stood in the command center of the new Alliance headquarters on Velthari Prime. The walls were covered with star maps showing dozens of solar systems, each one marked with a different color. Green meant free, red meant still under Kron control, and yellow meant fighting was still going on. "Captain, we have another message from the Mokari system," communication specialist Nina Clark reported. "They're asking for military advisors to help train their resistance fighters." Captain Parker nodded. "Tell them we'll send a team next week. What about the Terran rebellion?" "Still fighting, sir. But they've managed to capture 3 Kron supply ships. The enemy is having trouble getting reinforcements to that sector." Admiral Tony Rodriguez walked into the command center, followed by Counselor Thevron. The Velthari leader's skin was bright with happy colors. In the months since the victory, he had become not just an ally, but a close friend to the humans. "Captain, we have good news from Earth," Admiral Rodriguez said. "The Global Council has approved construction of 50 new Alliance-class ships. They should be ready in 8 months. And even better news from our new allies," Counselor Thevron added. "The Zalathi have agreed to share their advanced manufacturing technology. We can build ships twice as fast now." Dr. Amy Foster joined them, carrying her usual tablet full of research notes. "The medical exchange program is working better than we hoped. Velthari healing techniques have saved thousands of human lives, and our surgical procedures have helped them treat injuries they never could before." Intelligence Officer Kate Morgan brought them the daily report on Kron activities. "The Empire is in chaos. They've lost control of 12 systems in the past month. Our prisoner, War Commander Kethax, says the Kron High Command is arguing about whether to negotiate or send even more ships." "What do you think they'll do?" Captain Parker asked. "They'll keep fighting. The Kron don't know how to do anything else. But they're scared now. For the first time in centuries, they're losing." Lieutenant Colonel Rick Hayes entered the command center with a smile on his face. "Captain, you need to see this. The joint training exercise between human Marines and Velthari Defense Forces just finished. These aliens are natural soldiers when they need to be." Captain Parker looked out the window at the training grounds, where humans and Velthari worked together practicing combat techniques. 6 months ago, the Velthari had never held a weapon. Now they were teaching humans about strategy and tactics. "It's amazing what people can do when they're fighting for something they believe in," he said. Engineer Sam Peterson burst into the command center, more excited than anyone had ever seen him. "Captain Admiral, you have to see what we've built." They followed him to the shipyard, where the newest Alliance vessel was nearing completion. It was unlike anything either species had built before, sleek and fast like a human ship, but with the elegant lines and advanced technology of Velthari design. "We call it the ESV Unity," Sam explained. "It's the first ship designed from the ground up by both species working together. It's faster than any human ship, tougher than any Velthari vessel, and it has weapons that can adapt to any situation." Captain Kelly Brooks, who had been testing the new ship, landed nearby in a shuttle. "Ben, this ship is incredible. It responds to the pilot's thoughts almost like it's alive. The Velthari taught us how to integrate biological components with our technology. How many can we build?" Admiral Rodriguez asked. "With the new Zalathi manufacturing techniques, we can produce 10 ships per month," Sam replied. "And every ship we build will be better than the last one, because we keep learning from each other." Counselor Thevron walked over to a communications console. "Captain Parker, we are receiving a transmission from the Kron High Command. They wish to speak with you directly." The face that appeared on the screen was different from any Kron they had seen before, older, with scars across his scales, and eyes that held intelligence rather than just aggression. "I am Supreme Commander Vrex of the Kron High Command," the alien said. "You are the human who has caused so much trouble for our empire. I'm Captain Ben Parker. We're not trying to cause trouble. We're trying to help people who asked for our help. Yes, we have heard about your unusual motivations. You fight for species that are not your own. You risk your lives for strangers. The High Command finds this behavior difficult to understand. Maybe. That's your problem, Captain Parker replied. You've spent so long conquering people that you forgot what it's like to help them. Supreme Commander Vrex was quiet for a moment. Captain Parker, the Kron Empire has existed for over 1,000 years. We have brought order to dozens of chaotic systems. We have ended wars and provided stability by destroying anyone who disagreed with you, by doing what was necessary. But now our empire is falling apart, rebellions everywhere. Species we conquered centuries ago are fighting us again. They say they learned courage from watching humans. Captain Parker could hear something in the alien's voice that he had never heard from a Kron before: uncertainty. What do you want from us, Supreme Commander? I want to understand. How did a species that has been in space for less than a century manage to defeat an empire that has ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years? Captain Parker thought about the question. We didn't defeat your empire, Supreme Commander. We just showed other species that it could be defeated. The empire is falling apart because the people you conquered never wanted to be conquered in the first place. And you believe this alliance of yours is better? I believe that people should be free to choose their own leaders and live their own lives. We're not trying to build an empire. We're trying to build a partnership. Supreme Commander Vrex studied the human captain for a long moment. Captain Parker, I have a proposal. The Kron High Command is prepared to discuss terms for ending this conflict. What kind of terms? We will withdraw from all systems where active rebellion is taking place. In exchange, you will stop encouraging further rebellions against our authority. Captain Parker looked at Admiral Rodriguez and Counselor Thevron. Both of them shook their heads slightly. Supreme Commander, I can't agree to that. As long as there are people asking for help, we're going to try to help them. That's just who we are. The Kron Commander's expression hardened. Then this war will continue. I guess it will. But Supreme Commander, you should know that every day this war continues, more species join our alliance. Every day we get stronger. And you get weaker. Maybe it's time for the Kron Empire to try something different. After the transmission ended, Admiral Rodriguez turned to Captain Parker. Do you think they'll really keep fighting? Some of them will. But I think that Supreme Commander is smarter than the others. He knows their empire is doomed. Counselor Thevron's skin showed thoughtful colors. Captain Parker, what will happen? When this war ends, what will our alliance become? Captain Parker looked out at the stars, where dozens of species were fighting for their freedom, inspired by the example of humans who had traveled 1,200 light years to help strangers. I don't know, Counselor, but I think we're going to find out together. Communications specialist Nina Clark called out from her station. Captain, we're receiving another distress signal. This one is from the outer rim, about 3,000 light years away. The species calls themselves the Cathara. They say they're under attack by something called the Void Hunters. Captain Parker smiled. Nina, send them a message. Tell them we received their call for help. Tell them Earth is sending its Terrans. Dr. Amy Foster laughed. Captain, we're going to need bigger ships. Then we'll build bigger ships. We'll build whatever it takes. As the command center filled with the sounds of people preparing for another rescue mission, Captain Parker realized that the simple SOS from the Valkyrie had changed everything. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not as conquerors, but as the species that answered when others called for help. And across the stars, in systems where people had given up hope, new messages were being sent into space. Messages that began with the same words, help us. And somewhere humans were listening and packing their ships, and preparing to prove once again that no one had to face their darkest hour alone.